I'd like you to think for a minute of the biggest failure you've ever had. Think of a recent failure. If you can't think of a big one, think of something more recent. Got it? I'm sure you're thinking, that's not so fun. But imagine if it could be. My success has been anything but a straight line, and I'm imagining that yours is likely been and will be the same. If I think of my journey, I've been on a journey for almost 30 years as an entrepreneur. Love every day of what I do. But my biggest aha moment has come when I realized the power behind embracing what I call a WTF culture. Now, what WTF really stands for is willing to fail. I believe if I can convince you to embrace failure as your friend, then this will be a good time spent together. So let me take you back to a photo. I love photos. Take you back to a photo from the beginning, the early days. That is me. I swear, that's me. It was a self-portrait that I did at 4.5 years old. My grandparents ran an army surplus store in San Francisco. I used to go down every school break and work in their store. Grandma Florence and Kenny lit my entrepreneurial fire. I learned from them. When my grandmother, she was a rock star, man, I loved her. When she passed away, I went through her house and we cleaned out her things and I found a binder. And I looked through it, it said Brian's Drawings. The only person on the planet that thought I was a good artist, but she kept this. And I remember looking at it at 30 years old when I cleaned out her house and I said, I remember drawing that, I really do. I mean, I put myself in a uniform, I'm sweeping up junk, it's the same blue colors that we use for 1-800-GOT-JUNK. WTF? I mean, who thinks of being a junk man and then becomes one 20 some odd years later? But there's one part that concerned me. You can see the road behind me, and can you see that little broken heart to the right? What was up with that? Who draws that at 4.5 years old? Did I have a bad childhood? No, my mom is here somewhere and she'll tell you I had a great childhood. So, what I learned was it would become apparent 20 years later. So let's go to one more photo. Fast forward 20 years, I am actually now a junk man in uniform, forgot the hat. Little side story, we ran out of red paint, we were on an absolute shoestring, so we found a can of blue in the shed. True story. But what was up with the broken heart? I hit $1 million in revenue a few years after that photo. That's awesome. I felt great because what that afforded me to do as someone who was a high school dropout, didn't finish college after talking my way in, my education would be to join the YEO, Young Entrepreneur Organization. This global network, that would be my support, my learning, my education. You needed $1 million to get in, I joined, I felt awesome. Until I started talking to other entrepreneurs. I started realizing people had bigger businesses. Sexier businesses than junk removal, $10 million, $100 million businesses, and I wanted that, and I felt bad. So the mistake I made was comparing myself to others. Terrible thing, if you've ever done it, I don't recommend it. So I was comparing myself to others, and I was feeling bad. But I had other things going on in my life for whatever reason. The therapist could probably tell me, but I had anxiety. I had panic attacks every single day for years and years. I had depression. Things weren't going well. And upon reflection, looking back, I think I was no longer this ADD, junk removal guy that started, well, still ADD clearly, but I was not this guy that started this junk removal company who was a high school dropout. I was now actually a business owner. Employees, lots of trucks, but I still wasn't happy. And it's because I went from being a business owner to no longer being an entrepreneur or creator, and that didn't feel good. So what did I do? I learned in EO, when you're trying to solve a creative problem, what do? You take a retreat. So I went to a creative place, actually my parents' summer cottage on Bowen Island. I'm supposed to be over here. And I went to my parents' summer cottage and I sat down and I said, okay, I'm in a doom loop. Things aren't going well in my life. I don't know if I have the brains. I don't know if I have a business idea that could grow bigger. And I don't know if it's me that could build this. So what am I gonna do? So I pulled out a sheet of paper on that dock and I said, okay, 1 page, double-sided, I'm gonna write out what I could see if I decided to be an optimist and looked at pure possibility. 1 page, double-sided, If you've ever seen Jerry Maguire, it was a Jerry Maguire moment. Wrote out my manifesto, one page. We would be the FedEx of junk removal, and we would be on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Now, I take this painted picture, and I'm going, okay, I'm willing to fail to put it all on the line. I don't care what people think anymore. I'm not going to compare myself to others, and I'm going to share this painted picture with my world. So I start sharing the painted picture. People went into two camps. One camp said, Brian, you're smoking some hope dope. This isn't going to happen. And the other camp said, wow, I want to be a part of this. And those who wanted to be a part stayed. Many are still around, and we started to create this together. And what happened that I absolutely loved was everything in that painted picture. Top 30 metros, we hit the top 30 16 days before the 5-year deadline. We became the FedEx of junk removal, and we had 4.5 minutes of fame on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Now, when I look back, I go, did we crystal ball the future? Yeah, a little bit. But we found believers. We had people on board who were willing to fail with us. So let me take you back now through some of my favorite WTF moments and things that I've learned along the way. The first one was 5 years into the business, sometime around that truck I showed you. 11 employees, 9 bad apples, spoiled the rest of the bunch, brought them all together, and I said, you know what, I'm not having fun, this isn't working, and as your leader, I'm sincerely sorry, but we have to end this relationship. I took ownership because it was no one's fault but my own. I didn't have the clean-cut, professional, friendly uniformed drivers that we needed for our vision, and the only way I believed to make things work was to start again. So I fired 11 people, and it was a very tough day because I went from 5 trucks and a call center down to me and a big brick Motorola cell phone. And I did the booking, the dispatch, and it took 3 months, 6, I don't even remember, it was so painful, to rebuild. But I learned that day, through a failure is my friend, I said, I am going to build a company that is all about people and finding the right people and treating them right. And that's our mantra today, it's all about people. So speaking to people, what do they say about friends and business? They don't mix. I take the road less traveled, I'm an entrepreneur, so I hired my best friend and brought him in as the COO, Cameron Harold. Cameron comes into my business, helped us go from 2 million to 106 million in 7 years. It was phenomenal, we were having fun. But when we really dug down and looked inside, we were dangerous. We were like nitro and glycerin together. The two of us put together, boom, things were starting to break and fall apart, not because we didn't have the passion, the care, the love to work together, but we were being irresponsible. We were making decisions without the rigor and discipline that we needed. So I had to sit down and fire my best friend. Now, Cameron Harold did a TED Talk way before me. Cameron Harold's wildly successful and has written 3 books, but what I learned out of it, and thank goodness we've become friends today and rekindled that friendship, but what it taught me, the right thing usually isn't the easy thing. I realized that I had a business in front of me that had a bigger responsibility to all the employees we had, and if it wasn't right for the business, even if it was right for me, I had to make the tough call. Then, I lead into the biggest WTF moment I've ever had. When they say it's lonely at the top, was I ever lonely? I was alone. I decided to say, okay, I can't run this business to the level it needs to be. My franchise partners were telling me, Brian, you're not willing to fail, you're actually failing. Please get out there and find a leader to run this company. You're the visionary, not the executor. So I got out there and I looked. I hired a fancy recruiter, paid big bucks, and I hit the jackpot. I recruited an ex-president from Starbucks, from one of their US operations. Brought this person in, thought things were awesome. I abdicated. I didn't delegate clearly. I gave the reins up because I lost my confidence in myself. Together, we just about bankrupted the company. We lost revenue of $40 million in a year. Now, the financial meltdown of 2007 and 8 didn't help, but it was much greater than that. We were not joined at the hip with vision, and I don't believe that this president that I had believed in me as an entrepreneur. Now, this person's gone on to also be way more successful than they would have been with our company. Great person. What the problem was, it wasn't the right person for me. I needed the right leader to help me build this together. When I got her out of the business, there wasn't one person that believed in that decision. They do today because we've gone to a bigger, better place. They couldn't see what I saw, and that was scary. So we made a change. WTF, what did I learn? Gratitude. I learned to fill my heart with gratitude. I had about 2 years of anger, constructive dismissal lawsuit, a whole bunch of negativity, but I realized this happened for a reason. I am grateful for that experience. I am grateful because I was able to realize I wasn't the right person to run the company, and I needed to find the right person for me. So I got out there, my last WTF story, I ended up going, okay, take a sheet of paper, I like paper, and I wrote a line down the middle. What are all the things in the business that I love to do that I'm great at? A much longer list on the other side, what are all the things I'm not good at and hate to do? But the business still needs these things, so I better find a yin to my yang. Someone needs to do this, and I need to find the right entrepreneur, the leader for me. Shopped around, spread a painted picture. I did a vision describing this person in such detail that when I shared it with the world, my network, it had me on planes, 75 COOs I interviewed, but there was a pattern emerging. 3 people who read my mini painted picture on this person, unrelated, in cities all over North America, said, you describe one person. You describe Eric Church. They didn't give me 5 names to call up. They just gave me one. And I said, I got to meet this Eric Church. Get on a plane, fly to Toronto. We went through the whole process. He was gainfully employed, but he said, you know what? I love your vision. I want to be part of building something much bigger and better together. My company grew from 100 million to 400 million since Eric's been here in 6 short years. I couldn't have done that. My willing to fail moment was putting it on the line to say, if I really want growth, if we really want opportunities for other entrepreneurs across our 4 brands, I need to give up the reins, not abdicate, but work closely, the yin to my yang, and Eric and I call it 2 in the box, and it's been wildly successful. I'm in the happiest place I've ever been in my life, but like failure, which is temporary, so is success. And I think it's recognizing that you work through challenges and you embrace the failures when they're there. So as I wrap up here and I walk to the end of this dock, and I think through 20 years ago when I was on my parents' dock, and I think, what do I want to impart to you today? It's one thing: make failure your friend. Failure will be your best teacher in life, I guarantee it. And that education leads to learning and growth. If we think for a second, if you win and you taste winning without failure, sometimes it can feel hollow. It can feel like a hollow victory. But imagine having success which you can look at the disappointment and the regret and tell stories around the longing and the refusing to give up, even when you felt like giving up was the smartest and the best decision at your disposal. You didn't give up. You did it. And that's the kind of success we should all feel proud of. So as I close, one more comment on success. I think there's a massive difference between making a living and making a life. And I hope you all enjoy. My wish is for you to enjoy building a life as much as I do. Thank you very much. Thank you.